Welcome back, fellow OTs, to another episode of Animals and Aquatics and OT. I'm your host, Gina, and today we're diving into the challenges faced by OTs practicing in unique settings and how human motivation can help us overcome some of these challenges. As a nature-based OT who partners with animals and works in the aquatic environment, we have an incredible opportunity to harness the restorative power of the outdoors in our practice. But we also know that building a successful private practice comes with its own set of hurdles. Attracting clients, navigating reimbursement issues, staying energized in our entrepreneurial roles, coming up with treatment ideas, making sure that all of our clients are staying safe, finding practice locations, the list can go on and on. So, how can understanding core human motivations empower us in our private practice? Well, it's one of the things that I've found in my learning journey, and as I've implemented it into my own practice, I've found amazing outcomes in both the way my clients have reacted, as well as the way I've been able to draw a successful community around me. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today together. I'll be sharing some strategies based on the 9 domains of motivation to help us overcome these obstacles and to create a thriving practice. Together, we'll discover innovative ways to market our services while building deeper client relationships. We'll delve into some real life examples of OTs who've tapped into these motivational drives to make bigger results and a bigger impact in their community. So, if you've been feeling stuck on how to grow your dream practice, this episode will hopefully give you a new framework for success. Get ready to pursue your passion as we unlock the power of human motivation together. Did you know that there are 4 phases that families move through in the therapy process? This was something that was new to me when I first started learning about this, but now I teach the OTs that I work with these phases as the word MESS: marketing and outreach, enrollment and assessment, service provision, and success and beyond. In private practice, you really have to have your mess in order to be successful. So by using the engage method, we learn how to select the right motivational strategies for each of these phases. This helps us grow our business, achieve better client engagement, and maintain our spark for working. So let's talk about our first challenge. Now, I recently did an episode on facilities and finding your perfect practice location. So if you're interested in that, you can check the show notes and find out more about that. But finding suitable locations for nature-based interventions can be tough. It could be limited availability or a geographical constraint, financial considerations. Those are all significant challenges that I have faced, certainly. But fear not, we can tap into human motivation to help us tackle this head on. We can utilize domain 2, the drive of achievement and accomplishment, and help us be motivated to search for suitable locations proactively. If you're thinking about getting started in private practice, utilizing an aquatic environment, start looking at pools in your areas. Find out where other types of aquatic services are being provided, such as swimming lessons or maybe a gym that has a pool. If we start looking ahead of time, we can often start to bring in some of the other strategies that I'm going to talk about that will really start to build the connections, but we have to be proactive. And when we think about achievement and accomplishment, it really feels wonderful when we have found that perfect practice location. We can also look at domain 5, the drive of community and connection. That empowers us to network with others, collaborate with other practitioners and facilities, and this is really key in finding facilities. If they're not our own, like we don't have a pool in our backyard or we don't own a stable and we're looking to incorporate hippotherapy, then we need to be able to network with others. And being able to empower that community and connection drive is really huge. And when we tap into that and we get really good at explaining what that connection piece is going to be, then we find that others are much more likely to get behind us. So when we're thinking about tackling finding that perfect practice location, those are 2 ways that we can really tap into our own motivations and those of others to be more successful in this and make it not such a challenge. Next up, we have marketing and competition. And standing out in a competitive landscape can require a well defined marketing strategy and effective communication. Now, in some areas of the country, I know that if you're partnering with animals or providing occupational therapy using aquatics or using hippotherapy, that you may not have much competition at all. In fact, you may stand out just by that fact alone. But that's not always the case. If there are a lot of other private practices in your area, animals and aquatics may not be enough of a draw to bring people to you. In fact, it may seem so non traditional that it may actually make it a little bit harder for clients to figure out what you do and how that's similar to maybe a clinic based service that they would get. So, finding that marketing strategy that's going to communicate really what you do and how you do it that's unique is really important. So, in a competitive landscape, again, it can be difficult to get the word out to attract clients to organically. So, the engage method really helps us again select the right technique at the right time for our marketing and outreach phase. Remember, that's the M in mess. Thinking first about tapping into domain one, the drive of passion and purpose. This can help us find our purpose in our marketing efforts. It makes us more effective and inspiring for our potential clients. And it's really all about telling our own story about why we're so passionate about helping their child or their loved one through our work with animals or aquatics. It's also then part of their story because their purpose is often to help their loved one. And so when we can connect those two things together, that can be really powerful. Some other ideas from some of the other domains would be like highlighting a new offering that's only available for a limited time. And this can be seasonal offerings or a limited group that we're going to do 6 to 8 sessions of. Those things can be really helpful. We could craft a campaign that speaks to client values of health and wellness. So, especially if we're working in that health and wellness sphere, tapping into that can be really helpful. So, with the right strategy, we can turn marketing from a challenge really into an edge. Ideally, we want to incorporate all 9 domains into our marketing and outreach. Domain one, the one that we used about passion and purpose, is just one example. So, now let's talk about the challenge of staying energized and motivated. As OTs in private practice, we face a lot of challenges. I know I wear a lot of hats, and if you've ever done your chart org and put your own name in on so many of those different spots, you realize how many different things that you are responsible for or you're taking care of that in a larger business or employee situation would be outsourced to other people. And that really can lead to burnout. It can impact our client outcomes. But without these proper work and life priorities, it's really easy for motivation or excitement to fade. But fear not. Let's tap into our own intrinsic motivation by embracing domain three, the drive of creativity and empowerment. And it's definitely something that I tell a lot of the OTs that I work with is there's something so freeing about being like, I have this idea and I really want to try it and see if it's a good fit for my community. So, my co host and husband, Ryan, is really passionate about fly fishing, and he's created a dad's group for fly fishing. So dads and their children can come and learn fly fishing. And the OT part of it is all of the motor and attention skills that go into fly fishing. And it's something that, again, if you were an employee or in an employee situation, you wouldn't have that opportunity to just say, hey, this is something like really interesting that I want to try, and I'd like to see if this is something that could benefit my community. So we can experiment with some really innovative approaches to stay motivated and engaged. Now, sometimes this also turns into like chasing the next shiny thing. And that can actually lead to more burnout. So we want to make sure that we're being strategic in how we're using our creativity, but it is something that can really keep us going long term because we have a lot of control in the types of offerings that we're giving. Now we can also tap into domain seven, which is curiosity and novelty. And I know that's something that is really big for me. As a curious person, I love to keep learning. And the novelty, not having to repeat the same thing over and over, is inherent can we say, with animals and children. It's always novel. And when we're working with nature, it is really endless novelty, right? It engages our clients' curiosity. We can definitely say that no two nature based therapy sessions are ever the same. We have weather changes, we have the seasons, we have animals that may come across. So it could be a toad or a salamander, something that crosses our path that day that really engages all the children. That's also motivating for us because it really does tap into that novelty piece. The outdoors enables us as therapists to facilitate an ever changing lineup of activities. It feeds our own novelty. And that can definitely help with burnout. Just a session getting out for me by the stream and seeing, is the water high? Is the water low? Are we going to see crayfish? Let the little fishies come up and tickle our toes. There's so much. Can we make a little snail habitat? That in and of itself really can help with burnout. That can be a very restorative way to work. Finally, connecting your team to motivators like passion and purpose is really important and helpful. And like I said, a lot of times we are what it feels like working alone, right? Where we're wearing all the hats. But often when we're partnering with animals or working in the aquatic environment, there's someone else on our team. It could be a safety person, a volunteer, an intern, a fieldwork student, somebody else that is part of that team. So whenever we can share a client success story, that can really reinforce their purpose for being there. We can take time to celebrate milestones and wins so that that person really feels important and part of the team. We can make sure that we're infusing fun into some of the things that are routine. And the more we think about keeping our core motivators front and center, front of our mind, the more we can stay energized during tough times. So it's important to think about how these core domains really factor in not only to how we run our business, but to how it applies to us and our teams as well. So, we've talked about some of the challenges, but I can't leave you there. I definitely have to touch on some of the benefits. So, I want to explore just a few benefits real quick of applying the human motivation techniques in our unique settings in occupational therapy. So, one of the most powerful benefits of leveraging human motivation in our OT practice is the ability to create truly personalized treatment plans that really are client centered. Now, of course, we're doing that no matter what our setting is. And that's probably one of the huge strengths of OT anyway, right? Is that we are focused on our really client centered treatment plans. But it's really cool when we can start to leverage all 9 domains or factor in different domains into the client's motivators. So imagine being able to design an aquatic or an animal assisted session with a plan that's really specifically tailored to the client. Their goals, their preferences are built into the session in such a meaningful way that it becomes self perpetuating. So we can look at what's intrinsically motivating, and it can be so easy in our culture to get caught up on what's an extrinsic motivator. If you do this, then we'll do this. And that extrinsic motivation, there's a lot of good research out there, and maybe I'll do a whole episode on intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation and what the research really says. But when we look at whether it's a desire for connection, whether it's that achievement and accomplishment, creativity, or finding a purpose, we can incorporate activities that align with their core drives. So if you're working with, let's say, a teenage client who loves animals and they love the outdoors, but you notice that they lack skills in strength and endurance, well, when we look at it through a human motivation lens, we can recognize that there's a drive for empowerment and autonomy. The client wants to feel in control and like the activities have a purpose. This is especially true if you are working with teens and adolescents. So we can adapt the session to let our client take the lead a little bit more. We can encourage him to research and look at least 3 strengthening activities that we can incorporate in with the animals or why we're out doing a hike. And the hike could be really great for the endurance aspect. So this gives the feeling of empowerment and autonomy because he's picking the activities that he's excited about. You're using your clinical judgment to guide how those activities are going to be carried out in your unique setting. And this fuels his motivation to participate and take ownership over his therapy sessions. Now, we could also look at an older client who's going through hip rehab after surgery. They're feeling isolated and unhappy with the clinical exercise routine. And we realize that core drive here of connection and community is really important. So, we're going to supplement their therapy with some visits from our therapy goats. And that emotional bond with caretaking gives our client a sense of purpose. It also gives her a sense of connection and community because some of the other residents are also really interested about the goats. So the motivation is going to dramatically increase, right, when our activities align with her inner drives. So, as you can see, just taking some time to understand what the core drives are and then aligning those with our client motivations can make our therapy experience more engaging, can facilitate active participation in the therapy process. So, we know that when clients feel seen and understood and sessions speak to their values, that's when the real magic happens. So, of course, identifying core motivators takes patience and observation, really having a detailed understanding of what the 9 domains of human motivation are, then asking open ended questions, watching reactions, listening more than speaking can give us a good idea of how to craft these sessions towards things that are really meaningful to our client beyond just the answers that they typically give us. Because a lot of times when we are doing that kind of client intake interview and we're saying like, well, what would you like to do or what would you like your child to be able to do by the end of therapy? And we're writing down our notes. We might be thinking about, okay, like where do I categorize this based on what I've seen, based on my clinical observations, and even something like the COPM, when we're asking them, how important is this to you? How well can you do it? That gives us some really good like numerical data, but it doesn't necessarily tell us why they want to be able to do it. And that's what understanding the 9 domains does. It tells us why they want to be able to do it. For me, being able to put something in a bucket or a category, 9 domains, right? I can put it in a bucket. And then I can say, okay, it's in this bucket, it's in one of these domains. Okay, now I can find a technique that aligns with that. And so that's something that's been really empowering for me as a therapist is that yes, my sessions were client centered based on what the client said. But a lot of times it's we need to give them what they want, but we have to find a way to weave in what they need. And so being able to find through the core domains of human motivation why they want what they want. It answers a bigger question for us and it really allows us to get creative in how we translate their motivations into meaningful activities. So, a human centered approach is at the heart of creating these personalized treatments that really increase engagement and drive our results. Now, another benefit beyond better client outcomes in leveraging human motivation can also directly benefit the growth and success of our business. So, we're creating personalized treatment experiences, right? We're tapping into core drives, and this can really build a lot of loyalty to our practice and satisfaction. And actually, that's crafted into the experience. So we're thinking about that drive of community and connection right from the very beginning of our mess. And it's important because we know that loyal and satisfied clients are much more likely to continue working with us throughout their whole therapy journey. They might be referring family or friends or talking about us at a school meeting. And we know that if we retain clients over months, that is a huge value for our private practice. If we only see them 3 or 4 times, they don't complete treatment, they're not going to have a great outcome. And we have an appointment spot or whatever that's full, and then it's empty again. And so when we think about incorporating these motivations right from the beginning, we really can see again better client retention right from the beginning. And that can save us significantly on time and cost of continually attracting new clients. When a client understands that we know what motivates them, we can deliver a personalized experience that's focused on their goals, they're much more likely to keep returning to us and to share with others about what we're doing. So, let me give you an example. Let's say we're looking at a client who's recovering from a knee injury, and we're going to see them in the aquatic environment. We're going to incorporate some exercises that they find fun and engaging based on their motivations. And we're going to look at what their outcome is that they want when they're outside the pool. Since they're enjoying and they're looking forward to sessions, they're more likely to adhere to their full rehab plan, which means that they are more likely to be successful in recovering completely and stopping their pain and being able to get back to the things that they really enjoy rather than just coming for one or two sessions where they start to feel a little bit better, but they don't actually complete the whole time of working with us. So, another idea we could look at a teenager, right, who has some social challenges, and we could look at incorporating some peers into a session where we are partnering with animals. So, again, I love to use my therapy goats as an example. But if we have a goat group, right, we could have peer teams or we could even have some friendly competition. And that can really tap into that community and connection drive that we see. So, seeing quick gains while having fun with the peers may motivate this client to commit to longer term therapy to fully get back to a more active social life. So, again, a lot of the clients that I work with have anxiety and anxiety in social situations. So we have the component of the animals helping them with that, but then we also can leverage that community and connection piece. So as we find that we're motivating our clients through the experiences, beyond just retention, we know that our clients that love us are fantastic sources of referrals. And whether it's working with our animals or in the aquatic environment, when they have a positive and rewarding experience, they really do become advocates for us. And the more that they're out in the community speaking for us, the less time that we have to spend in our active marketing campaigns. So they'll recommend you again to their school group, to their support group. They'll talk about you with the pediatrician or a teacher at school. And as that gets out, that really kind of has an exponential way of supporting your private practice. When we look at leveraging all 9 domains of human motivation, clients become more eager to tell their friends and family about us. Our word of mouth marketing from a genuine referral source is really, really good at attracting new clients. I mean, I think about myself, and the first thing I look at when I go shopping on Amazon is what do the reviews say? So it's even more powerful when it's like one of my friends who are like, oh, yeah, I bought that. It was great. So it's kind of the same with our own businesses, right? If one of our clients is talking to their friend and they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, I've been working with Gina and Ryan, that's a great way to have a new client. The secondary source is like they hear about it from a teacher, says, oh, yeah, I have another student that's working with your private practice. That's another great way. And between having clients stay with us longer and getting more referrals, tapping into human motivation can really impact our bottom line and support sustainable growth. It demonstrates how designing personalized, engaging therapy fosters not only better outcomes, but also lasting, mutually beneficial relationships. So, a commitment to understanding motivation is what distinguishes a good private practice from a great one. So, be sure to weave those human centered elements into your programs. When you make the investment on the front end, you'll reap the rewards through retention, referrals, and reputation. The last major benefit I want to touch on today is how optimizing for human motivation can positively impact the financials of your private practice. Whether you're doing this as just a side hustle 1 day a week or whether this is your full time income, it really can make a difference between no shows and absences and finding the right human motivation techniques to decrease those numbers, or like I was just talking about, increasing retention and referrals. So, with the right motivation techniques, we can look at how we want to hit those financial goals. And a financial lift is really what's going to provide you sustainability and room to grow. And the thing we can think about is the more income that we have coming into our business, the more people that we can help, right? A lot of times when it is a side hustle and maybe it's bringing in a little bit of extra income, that's great. We might be paying a facility fee to the facility, and so we're giving them a little help, and our clients are bringing in some money to help support our families. But there's often not a lot else we can do to help our communities. But if our practice grows in a way that allows us to be more sustainable, we can actually help clients in different ways that maybe we couldn't connect with them before. We might be able to run some lower cost wellness groups. So that way, folks who don't have insurance reimbursement and wouldn't be able to access working with us would be able to do that through a wellness group. So, if we want to look at the retention side of things, and we're keeping a client going through their whole treatment plan that we've set out, if the client completes 12 weeks of occupational therapy in the aquatic environment, and they generate more earnings for us than one who stops after 3 weeks because they lost interest or they didn't understand the purpose. So, as we're looking at incorporating all of these different motivators and looking at the different domains, it really allows us to have that retention. And as we keep our clients throughout their full treatment plan, we understand that yes, it's a better revenue source for us, but also they have better outcomes. And I don't know about where you are at in the country, but for us, getting one hour session of OT a week is still a struggle. And to change someone's life in one hour session once a week is really challenging. And if they only come see me 4 times, like, I'm good, but I am not a miracle worker. And I do need a bit of time to work with someone and to give parent recommendations and to have parents follow through on them. So those things are really important. And as we incorporate the components of human motivation, I can actually set up tools and techniques that will have parents collecting the data for me that shows their child's progress. Because often, like everyone, we can focus really on the one negative thing that isn't going well much more easily than we can focus on the progress that we've made. And that can happen with our clients too. So when we're tracking data and we're using motivating factors, we can go back and say, well, let's look at your log here that you've been keeping. I just taught the Quest log roadmap workshop, and that's one of the things we talked about, right? Is that families, when they are collecting data for us, we can just go back to the log and say, wow, look here at the beginning, you were only able to do this twice during the week. And in the reflection notes here, it was really quite challenging. And look here, we're a couple weeks later and we're doing this almost every day of the week now, and it's really easy. So I'm really glad to see that those transitions are now coming much easier for your child. So those are some ways we can think about that retention piece being a financial benefit, but also being an outcome benefit. So, we talked a little bit about referrals, and the nice thing about referrals, right, is they don't have marketing costs associated with them. So, a referral who converts to a paying client adds directly to our income stream. It's a profitable way to acquire new customers. It doesn't require a whole lot of effort on our part. If 5 out of our 25 weekly clients that we're going to see in the aquatic environment or where we're incorporating hippotherapy each provide a referral each month, that could mean 5 new paying clients added every month. Just thanks to using motivational techniques, that's over 60 new customers a year without any marketing budget. So that can make a huge difference. And really thinking about our own business, because when we're working incorporating aquatics or when we're using hippotherapy as a tool, there is a limit to the number of clients that I can see in one day. Like physically, there is a limit. And being able to keep my spots full, even if I only have 4 spots on a particular day, is really important to our practice. So, again, that's 60 new clients a year. That might be even more than I can handle. And so that's one of the ways this can be an exponential growth factor for us. So when we think about retention, referrals, then you can start to really see those financial benefits, right? And financial benefits, again, they allow us to reinvest in our business. It could be hiring new staff, purchasing updated evaluations, equipment, tools, expanding to a new facility, and it can also be giving back to the community. Again, running some of those low cost programs or starting a nonprofit that has a scholarship component. And if we want to tap into that passion and purpose again, sometimes we can say, a percentage of our yearly revenue actually goes into a scholarship fund. That way, everybody who's coming and working with us is contributing to helping the community. So, when we think about it, when it's done effectively and we're optimizing for human motivation, it definitely can enhance our financial sustainability and our financial growth. So, it's not just about helping clients, but it's about helping myself and my family and our business to thrive. So, when we weave the motivational elements in, it really becomes a win win scenario. So, if you ever find that motivation and revenue are at odds, we can really rethink our approach because profit should come naturally from keeping people engaged. I hope you're having a clearer picture of how leveraging our core human drives like accomplishment, ownership, and passion and purpose can benefit your practice's financial well being in the long run. As we wrap up, I'd like to thank you for joining me again for an episode of Animals and Aquatics in OT. Today, we explored the challenges faced by occupational therapists in unique settings and the benefits of using human motivation as a frame of reference. We have a unique opportunity to provide innovative and engaging interventions, creating a deeper connection between our clients and the natural world. By leveraging human motivation, we can tap into our clients' intrinsic motivators, foster increased engagement, and overall satisfaction. So, as we wrap up, I'd like to encourage all of my OTs to embrace the potential within their practice to navigate the hurdles you face with resilience and determination. Leveraging human motivation techniques is key to overcoming private practice obstacles, whether it's marketing, resources, or just keeping your passion going. There are real challenges, but also huge opportunities when we incorporate nature and motivation meaningfully. Join us next time as we continue to explore animals and aquatics in OT. Remember, by embracing nature and human motivation, we can unlock new possibilities and empower our clients. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep inspiring and igniting change through the power of occupational therapy.